face recognition payment in China.
This is something that will scare a lot of Westerners, but this is a norm in China now. You don't need your card, you don't need to bring your phone. You just need to scan the item you want to buy and the machine will scan your face. Then the money is deducted from your Alipay or WeChat Pay. That is so convenient.
Oh, wow, that's so convenient. You pay with your face hole until you commit a microaggression or a thought crime against one of the ruling elites, and then you can't get any ramen or food for your family. Definitely worth the trade there. Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. This is Luke Rudowski here of WeAreChange.org. And boy, oh boy, do we got some crazy totalitarian nightmare news to get into today, as it looks like many central controllers, bureaucrats, and communists are trying to bring back the lockdowns, restrictions, and mandates, specifically in China, New Zealand, Australia, Canada, and more, are acting in very despotic ways against their own populations. What's happening here? We're going to be talking about that, plus the larger pushback against it here on this independent media broadcast, as well as all the latest news developing right now that's important for you to understand. There's so much news, we're just going to jump right into it, as of course we usually like to critique the corporate media. There's always a lot to critique the authoritative sources on here that of course have an advantage over independent media, that of course always show up in search, always showed up in rank, always get promoted in the algorithm, while of course independent media that has a way better track record than them, that does a way better job than them, that is more honest than they are, well, they get usually screwed over. And to highlight this media hypocrisy, we of course now have the New York Times that very shockingly is coming out aiding and abetting one of the insurrectionists on January 6th. We kid you not. The New York Times literally wrote an entire feature piece about Ray Epps, the man who is on video urging people to storm the Capitol the night before the incident, during the incident. He's a major person of interest for a lot of people online, as he, of course, was commanding the crowds to take illegal actions, and yet he has not faced any criminal charges against him, when, of course, there's horror stories of people being misidentified, followed, tracked, swatted by the FBI because they just looked like someone who was inside of that building on that specific date. But yet, Ray Epps, still no particular charges against him, when of course he was allegedly calling for an insurrection, which the New York Times even used in their old videos. Yes, the New York Times literally released a video with Ray Epps, a part of a story that they did that, quote, the Trump supporters wanted to storm the Capitol all along. This was their assertion at the New York Times. They used old video footages of Ray Epps to support this claim. Now they're claiming that all the claims against Ray Epps are, quote, baseless ideas, which is absolutely bewildering, because even in this New York Times piece, according to Darren Beattie, who found this, of Revolver News, in that article, Ray Epps is even referenced texting his family members, describing how he was orchestrating the movements of the people to the Capitol after Trump's speech. So the New York Times is contradicting the New York Times, and their hypocrisy still deserves to be on full blast, as of course their resources could be going towards holding people in power accountable, could be asking the Federal Bureau of Investigations how many undercover agents they had on that specific day, could be about investigating the foreknowledge, the forewarnings, the stand down of security, could be asking some legitimate questions about all the video footage from that particular day. But they're not. They're for some reason aiding and abetting someone that they described as an insurrectionist before. Why are they doing this? I don't know. The story's probably a lot more complex than we understand it to be, but to me this is clear hypocrisy, and there's a lot of it going around in Washington, D.C., especially after a comedian decided to heckle Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez outside of Washington, D.C., calling her favorite big booty Latina, which AOC responded to afterwards by playing the video to her followers and saying that she wanted to deck the provocateur, even though in the video of the incident she flashed a peace sign and posed for a selfie with Alex Stein, who of course committed this troll. Yeah, once again, a politician says one thing and then does another. This, as AOC is also ranting about this, investing a lot of time into this troll, where literally people responded to the initial video by calling Alex Stein a simp for AOC. And AOC's talking about how she wanted to physically hurt him and how she's disappointed that Capitol police officers didn't intervene, even though there was no law violated here. This coming from the same person that tweeted right before this incident, essentially encouraging the harassment of Supreme Court justices at restaurants, sarcastically posting "poor guy" in response to Brett Kavanaugh being targeted at a restaurant during one of his dinners. And with incidences like this, I think it's fair to say that there's a lot of hypocrisy within our establishment. This as the federal government looks to codify it even more, as today we're finding out that Congressmember Adam Schiff is trying to codify a law in the new NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act, that would stop any accountability and oversight of any kind of military operation that is being done domestically. Yes, the federal government, through Adam Schiff, is trying to implement a law that would block any kind of transparency, accountability, and oversight in military and National Guard cases of domestic employment. Now, why are they trying to shove this into the NDAA? A massive spending bill, especially with all the political prosecutions that have been happening recently by the federal authorities. Well, I think it's signaling some very troubling times ahead, which I, of course, will be talking about later on today on LukeUncensored.com. I will be describing what's going to be happening, what we most likely are going to be expecting, the bigger problems and issues at hand, as well as conversations about health, wealth, and a lot of the crazy stuff that we cannot talk about on this particular broadcast. Issues that are too spicy for this platform. That's why we made our own platform, LukeUncensored.com. By the way, we're doing an active AMA. We just got an incredible amount of questions for our upcoming AMA, which will only be happening on LukeUncensored.com. You want to ask me anything? Sign up on the forum. Sign up on LukeUncensored.com and get engaged in the conversation, as of course the forum is going to be a launching pad of many exciting projects, a lot of group participation efforts, a lot of places where you could find local individuals in your community. Lots of exciting things are happening. Be a part of the forum, get uncensored videos almost every single day, get exclusive merchandise at cost, get 3 masterclasses, all just by signing up right now to LukeUncensored.com. See you there right after this video with the continuation of yet another video. Now, of course, we're not done here with the important conversation that we still need to have, as of course, there still is a lot of absolute craziness happening all around the world right now, and that's why I think it's important to understand an international perspective. And I think Candace Owens, who we don't always agree with, made a very important point to understand the larger point of what's happening internationally and geopolitically. As she said, quote, "Experts told you if you complied with lockdowns, censorships, masks, and procedures, life would return to normal. Conspiracy theorists told you this sickness was never going to end and the government would use it to usher in a totalitarian new world order. Who do you believe now?" She said this in November 2021, at the peak of this lunacy, when the government was telling you that there was going to be a winter of severe illness and death, which never happened. We told you it wasn't going to be happening here on this particular broadcast. We were going against the propaganda, which was wrong. Once again, independent media was calling it the right way, when the corporate media, the political establishment, the medical establishment was getting it flat wrong. But Candace's statements here are still worthwhile, especially with some of the crazy video footage that we're getting from China that is allegedly showing citizens handcuffed, lined up, and forced to take mandatory tests by armed police officers. Now, of course, just like any kind of video coming from China, it is very hard to independently verify, but with the way that the government has been acting there, it wouldn't surprise me, especially with the recent lockdowns of Shanghai, that this would be happening in many places all throughout China. This as Dr. Fauci, the Lord and Savior to many, has come back in the media spotlight, warning about a new BA.5 variant, which the Daily Beast decided to call the Ninja variant, allegedly the most dangerous one yet. And the scientific data when it comes to hospitalizations and death doesn't support this claim at all. There's actually no scientific data that they're stating. I think the article by the New York Post definitely makes more sense about this, as they wrote an article that's titled, "Uh-oh, he's back. Fauci is once again spouting bad health advice," as of course Dr. Fauci is calling for more restrictive health policies here in the United States. Calls that are being pushed back for, but we have to understand that the state doesn't have a limit here about how far they will go when it comes to implementing absurd policies. Now, here in the United States is being pushed back, but these efforts are being coordinated in places like New Zealand and in Canada. The Daily Mail wrote that Jacinda Ardern is going to bring back hated health restrictions, as allegedly the people there are dealing with an outbreak of a lot of cases. Allegedly, the government there is even threatening more restrictions in Canada. They just slowly started to implement more travel restrictions, implementing now mandatory random testing for individuals who have even fully complied and taken whatever procedure the government wanted them to take, as they're also changing their definition of fully compliant to now 4 procedures. A Canadian judge just ruled that denying organ transplants to individuals who haven't complied with this procedure does not violate Canadian charter, essentially highlighting the cruel and unusual treatment that the government there is implementing still against its citizenry there, discriminating against, essentially signing a death sentence to some for not complying with the whims of the government there. Now, the bigger question that we have to ask ourselves is, will these measures work? And I absolutely not. The New York Times even wrote an article highlighting how specifically a lot of these lockdowns, a lot of these restrictions, a lot of these insane policies that have destroyed social, economic, and the health and wealth of children, of people in the world, that absolutely eviscerated it, have done almost absolutely nothing when it comes to health, except make it a lot worse for a lot of people. The science and data doesn't lie here. It's clear. It's right in your face. And I do not see these aggressive measures working or being reinstituted in full. We're seeing efforts in order to try to reinstate them. I don't think they're going to work. In France, the far left and the far right literally united together to shoot down a health passport, a domestic passport system inside of France. The Biden administration, that has always been a fervent supporter of lockdowns and restrictions and centralized control of people's health, is dealing with an overwhelming, resounding negative response from the American public, as of course these policies, not because of a sickness, but because of direct government intervention, have absolutely wrecked this economy. The financial pain we are seeing is a result of government policy, not of a sickness, as of course if the government didn't intervene, life would be a lot better, people would be a lot prosperous, people would be a lot healthier, there would be less psychological problems, less drug use, less deaths of despair, less self-hurt, less drug use, less social isolation, less craziness. And at the end of the day, when it comes to the chaos that the world is dealing with right now, the rents that are going up as high since its fastest pace since 1986, all of that is a direct result of giving too much power to government officials that, of course, routinely abuse it with full outright hypocrisy. I don't know about you. Kind of sick of the hypocrisy. The fact that politicians are still trying to reinstitute controls over your life based off even no scientific data at all shows you that they're going to be pushing this larger totalitarian agenda as far as they can and as far as you let them. The moment you stop complying, the moment you just stop going along with all of this, the moment you stop supporting them, the moment you stop voting with your clicks, with your dollars, with your attention, with your energy, without giving it to them, that's the moment they realize that they have no power, and the people have all the power, and they are deathly afraid of you realizing that. That's my perspective. That's my opinion. That's where I'm coming from personally, from everything that I'm seeing. If you thought I was wrong, let me know why down in the comment section below. I always appreciate your constructive criticism. I always appreciate being able to see things from a different perspective. I think that's what makes people's minds strong and people stronger, is the ability to not only listen to criticism, but also listen to points of views that are not theirs. And I try to do that as much as I can. You guys help me do that in the comment section. And with you guys doing that and sharing these videos, it's one of the reasons why I am still here. One more video coming your way on LukeUncensored.com, which you could watch right now by clicking the description down below. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you, and this is why. I love you guys. Stay tuned for a lot more here on WeAreChange.org.